So there's been quite a bit of interest lately as to what I'm doing with my own training regimen on a personal level. A lot of individuals who follow me on my personal social media profiles are like, hey Ben, you own a gym. We know you coach a lot of individuals who see some incredible results. We know you work with a great team who does some amazing coaching work and who help their clients see amazing results as well. But what the heck are you up to? As a business owner, as a gym owner, are you still making progress under the bar? Are you still training with the intent to hit PRs? Or are you kind of just trying to maintain both your physique and your strength? The reality is I'm always trying to make progress. I'm a numbers guy, and those who are in my inner circle, if you will, or who see me on a daily or weekly basis know that I'm almost obsessive about numbers and the measurability factor that comes with those numbers. If what you're doing in the gym is actually working, and not just assumed to be working, not just challenging or hard, then technically it should contribute to your physical output. And it should contribute in a way that is measurable progressively. So, for example, if you could bench 100 pounds and you were working with a bunch of different exercises for your triceps and upper back, then in order to ensure that the exercises you're incorporating are actually contributing to measurable progress, eventually you would have to see an increase on that bench press. And if you didn't, then you might now be aware that some of those exercises, or all of them, or the way that they're being employed, are not working. And this is all just feedback from which you can pivot from. So I love numbers, I love making progress, and I still am focusing on making progress in my own training. I feel like it would be silly otherwise, because I wouldn't be leading by example. So to give you kind of a brief overview of the past 6 weeks, I've been focusing on the football bar bench press as my primary pressing lift, simply because my bench press itself got a little bit sticky around the 350 pound mark. I was struggling to really break through that plateau, so I decided to employ a different pressing variation because A, it becomes psychologically taxing to always be grinding through reps, and B, the more reps you start to miss, the more it plays a toll on you from a psychological aspect, because the more you miss, the more you expect to miss, and the more you hit, the more you expect to hit. So I always want to be hitting when it comes to moving weight under the bar. So if I find something's getting a little too sticky, I get rid of it and I move on to something else. The football bar is an exercise that my previous best was 280 pounds on for single. So recognizing this, what I did was phase it back into my programming, took a little bit of a step back, if you will, and then drove the number up, ending this 6-week cycle with a 287.5 pound single. That's a 7.5 pound PR over 6 weeks, which is an excellent rate of progress relative to my own individual goals and the pace at which I like to move at. So knowing as much, what the game plan was to assess off this single, which happened this morning. The mindset was simple. If the rep was sticky, if at any point I felt I wasn't going to get the rep, or if during the rep I found that I struggled to get the weight off my chest, or I struggled to lock it out, then what I was going to do was take a 1-week mini deload and then continue on with the football bar. If I completely bailed on the rep, then I was going to remove that lift and transition to another primary press. Now, the rep this morning, if you happen to see it, was super smooth. Smooth as butter. I almost couldn't have done it better if I tried, unless somehow I skyrocketed that weight up at double the speed. But nevertheless, at no point did I feel like I was going to miss a lift. At no point did I feel like it was sticking. So it was a smooth lift and a relatively respectable PR at that. So what the game plan is now is we're going to bypass the deload week because A, I don't feel like I need it in the least, and B, the rep itself was so smooth that I definitely think I have quite a bit more in the tank, which makes sense because when I set that 280 pound PR on the football bar, had about a 325 pound 1-rep max on the bench, give or take. It might have been about 330. So knowing as much, it only makes sense that I have a bit more room in the tank to make progress on the football bar, simply because I did drive my bench press up to a 350 pound single in the gym. So what the game plan is over the next 6 weeks is to calculate out at around a 302 to 305 pound 1-rep max, depending on how the lifts go on a weekly basis, and then to test at a conservative 297 to 300 pound single, and then at that point we'll reassess. So that's the game plan, just kind of letting you know what I'm up to personally in terms of pressing. At that point, when I test the lift, if it's successful, I'll continue on with it and assess how I want to move the rate of progress forward. If I miss the lift, which is not the goal, then we'll transition out to another variation of a primary pressing exercise. If you have any questions relative to how I train or what I'm doing relative to my personal goals, make sure you drop a question, because there's been quite a bit more interest lately into how I approach my own training, what I'm working on, what my ultimate goals are, what I'm trying to achieve here. So if you're interested, drop a question and I'll make a quick video or a longer video such as this one as to what I'm currently up to.